the 1920s classic children's book series Uncle Wiggily's Adventures, written by Howard R. Garis, illustrated by Lang Campbell, and read by Grandma Nana. Thank you for joining Uncle Wiggily and I.
Uncle Wiggily's Snowman Adventure 2. Uncle Wiggily, who had been out in the cold, came into the sitting room of the hollow stump bungalow, where Nurse Jane Fuzzy Wuzzy, his muskrat lady housekeeper, was knitting a pair of red socks for the rabbit gentleman. "Don't you want to come for a nice ride, Nurse Jane?" asked Uncle Wiggily. "Do you mean a ride in your airship?" asked the muskrat lady. "No, I mean in an ice boat," answered the bunny. "Come with me, and we shall skim over the ice like a swallow on roller skates. Come, Nurse Jane." Nurse Jane's all nice and warm. She's going out into the cold. Nurse Jane put on her warmest garments and went with Uncle Wiggily to the frozen duck pond ocean. "Here is my ice boat," said the bunny gentleman. "Soon we shall be sailing along as Curly and Floppy Twistytail are skating over the ice." Nurse Jane shivered. "Is it safe?" she asked. "Oh, absolutely," declared Uncle Wiggily, positive-like and comforting. "We shall have a fine sail." Nurse Jane said she would try it. "But mind," she exclaimed, "if I don't like it, I'll get off and walk." After shivering once or twice, Nurse Jane finally let Uncle Wiggily help her get on board the ice boat. The old sea dog sailor cast loose the rope that had tied the boat to the little dock. The wind blew on the sail, and away skimmed the Cabbage Leaf, which was the name of the ice craft. "Hooray!" cried Uncle Wiggily. "We shall have a fine ride." Curly and Floppy Twistytail, the two piggy boys, saw the ice boat and wanted a ride. "Come on!" Nurse Jane called to them. Curly and Floppy skated very fast. Curly and Floppy skated so fast that they soon caught up to Uncle Wiggily and Nurse Jane on the ice boat. "Get aboard, boys!" cried the bunny gentleman to the piggies. "I'll give you a fine ride." Then the Cabbage Leaf began to go faster. Nurse Jane held tightly to her bonnet. Curly and Floppy held on to their caps. "Oh, something will happen if you go so fast," cried Nurse Jane. "I can't help it. The wind blows us," answered Uncle Wiggily, and surely enough, something did happen. All of a sudden, Uncle Wiggily must have done something to the steering rudder of the ice boat, or else the wind began to blow in corkscrew curls, for the Cabbage Leaf started to sail around in circles. "Oh, Uncle Wiggily!" cried Nurse Jane. "Whatever is the matter?" The bunny rabbit gentleman held his hat with one paw and steered with the other. "I don't know what has happened," he said, "but have no fear. I am the captain, and I will not desert my ship. Hold fast, everybody." And they all did. After some hard work, Uncle Wiggily at last made the ice boat stop going around in circles. It sailed straight away once more, and Nurse Jane and the piggy boys were beginning to enjoy their ride. "Isn't this great?" cried Uncle Wiggily. "I saved you from the icy whirlpool." The piggy boys squealed in delight, but Nurse Jane, looking toward shore, cried, "Oh, Uncle Wiggily, more danger! We are headed right for the point, and see the bad old blue-nosed Baboon hanging in the tree. Oh, my!" Uncle Wiggily did his best to steer out of the way of the point of land where grew the tree on which was hanging the bad old blue-nosed Baboon, but the rabbit gentleman couldn't do it. He did manage to steer so that he did not bunk into the shore, but the boat went under the tree, and the Baboon dropped right into the midst of the party. "Now for some souse," gurgled the bad chap. Nurse Jane was frightened. Floppy and Curly took up pieces of ropes, hoping they might tie the unpleasant chap fast to the mast. "Dear me, Uncle Wiggily," cried Nurse Jane. "The Baboon came on board without being invited. Can't you do something to save our souse?" "Yes, I guess I can," he said. "Oh, "You can't lose me," gibbered the baboon. But Uncle Wiggily knew a trick or two. Suddenly, the rabbit gentleman steered the ice boat out toward the middle of the lake. The wind now blew so strong and the cabbage leaf went so fast that the baboon was flung overboard. Hats and Nurse Jane's bonnet blew off too. All of a sudden, the ice boat went so fast and the wind blew so hard that it blew the old baboon overboard. Off he went, sliding straight toward a hole which would sozzle him in the cold water. "Oh, save me," babbled the baboon. But he did not deserve to be saved. "Hooray! Now we are all right," cried Curly and Floppy. Uncle Wiggily headed the boat back toward the hats, and all was well. Nurse Jane tied her bonnet under her chin and said she had really enjoyed the ride. Okay, do you think they should have saved the blue-nosed baboon? Because I think they should have. He wouldn't have bothered them if they hadn't bunked into their tree. So there's that. Uncle Wiggily's Snowman, Adventure 3. "Dear me, Uncle Wiggily," said Nurse Jane Fuzzy Wuzzy, the muskrat lady housekeeper, one day to the bunny rabbit gentleman. "I really don't know what we are going to do." Uncle Wiggily said it was too bad. "Here I have the dance party invitations all ready to send out," went on Nurse Jane, "and we can't get a band of music anywhere in Woodland. How are my friends who are coming to our party going to dance if we don't have music?" Uncle Wiggily said certainly no one could dance without music. "I'll go look for some, Nurse Jane," he said. Because, three-piece bands are always hanging out in the woods. "Well, Uncle Wiggily, where are you going?" asked Mr. Whitewash, the polar bear gentleman, as he met the bunny rabbit near the ice cave. "I am looking for some music," answered Mr. Longears. "Nurse Jane and I are going to have a dance party in our hollow stump bungalow. Now at the last minute, the crickets, birds, and grasshoppers who were going to play for us sent word that it is too cold for them. They have gone down south where it is warm." Mr. Whitewash said that was too bad. No music for the party? I wonder if I could help, he thought to himself. "Come into my cave, Uncle Wiggily," invited Mr. Whitewash, the polar bear gentleman. "Perhaps we can think of a way of making music at Nurse Jane's party." Uncle Wiggily went into the cave. From the roof were hanging down long icicles and small ones. The icicles were colored like the rainbow. "My, what fine icicles!" cried the bunny, as he reached up his crutch and tapped the long frozen spears. As the crutch tapped them, the icicles sounded like bells. The long icicles made deep, low notes of sound, and the short ones made shrill notes. "Fine!" cried the squirrels. "I didn't know icicles made music," chattered Billy Bushytail, one of the squirrels. "Nor I," added his brother Johnny. "Oh, yes, the icicles in my cave are musical," said the polar bear. "I'll give you a lot of them, Uncle Wiggily. You can pile them on the sled and take them home. Maybe you can make some sort of piano out of them to give music for Nurse Jane's party." Uncle Wiggily said perhaps he could. So the sled, which Johnny and Billy had been coasting on near the polar bear gentleman's cave, was loaded with short and long icicles. Uncle Wiggily felt happier. Mr. Whitewash and the squirrel boys helped Uncle Wiggily draw the icicles to the hollow stump bungalow on the sled. "Now we will make a xylophone piano to give music for our dance," said the bunny. Nurse Jane and Mr. Whitewash helped. Some icicles were left in long pieces to make the deep, rumbly bass notes. Others were broken off short to make the high, tinkly notes. Johnny and Billy put horse chestnuts on the ends of little rods for Uncle Wiggily to tap the icicles with. The long, slender pieces of ice were laid over 2 padded sticks, like an xylophone. "Now our icicle piano is finished," said Uncle Wiggily, as he put the last piece of ice in place. "We'll have a little practice." So he played a jolly tune, hammering on the icicles with the horse chestnuts on the ends of sticks. Nurse Jane danced with Mr. Whitewash. Billy and Johnny Bushytail did a sort of jazz-time rag, and the 2 Swigglebugs waltzed a foxtrot like a one-step. "This will be grand for the dance party," said Nurse Jane. "But won't the icicles melt, Uncle Wiggily?" "The rabbit gentleman said they might. I'll bring you more," spoke Mr. Whitewash. When it came time for Nurse Jane's dance party, the weather was cool, and the new icicles, which Mr. Whitewash brought for Uncle Wiggily to make the xylophone piano, hardly melted at all. "It is very kind of you to invite us," said the animal folk, as they crowded into the hollow stump bungalow. "I didn't know Uncle Wiggily could play," said Grandpa Goosey Gander. "I didn't know it myself until I tried some of these icicles," said the bunny. "Oh, everything is so happy. I'm almost afraid something is going to happen. Something like the Pipsisewah," said Nurse. "She's very pessimistic. She needs not to worry about things like that." But all of a sudden, when everything at the party was just lovely, the front door of the hollow stump bungalow opened, and in popped the bad old Pipsisewah. "Aha!" howled the Pip. "I thought I heard music here, but I didn't know you had a piano, Uncle Wiggily." The bunny, who was just finished playing a waltz, said the music came from the icicles. "You may stop playing now, while I take some of your souse," growled the Pip. Johnny and Billy, the squirrels, who had been playing soldier with 2 sharp icicles for swords, looked at one another and blinked their eyes. Uh-oh. No more pages in my 100-year-old book. So, how do you think the party will end? Will the squirrel boys rescue everyone with their icicle swords? Will Uncle Wiggily hammer a tune on the Pipsisewah's head? Well, I hope everyone survives, including the Pipsisewah. That was a fun story. Thank you for joining Uncle Wiggily and I. I see you, I love you, and I will miss you until I see you again. All of a sudden, and I spelled adventure wrong because I'm awesome. After some hard work, Uncle Wiggily at last made the ice boat stop going around in circles. Skip that. I skipped 2 whole pages. Never so much aware of bodily fluids of the head. Wow, let's redo that whole paragraph. I didn't know ice 3, 2,